All right, everyone, in a move that could be highly transformative for U.S. society, Trump is still musing the possibility of trying to axe the Department of Education. I strongly support this, and I'll tell you why. Liberal commentators right now, especially the Krasensteins, are saying like, well, if you make people more ignorant, that's not good for the country. Only ignorant people don't want the Department of Education. What have they done for us lately? The Department of Education, as soon as it's incepted, all of a sudden educational attainment in the United States started going down and down and down, and this is the reason why. It is subjugate to political whims. That is, that if a party gets in, they don't want to say, well, the test scores have fallen by 5% under our administration. And so what they do is they dumb down the testing standards. They've done this a number of times. You have the No Child Left Behind Act by Bush, which is really the No Child Left Act. You have Common Core under Obama, which is actually common crap. You've got Michelle Obama's, school lunches, which are the least nutritious thing you can possibly eat, and all of this crap. It's effectively nothing more than a political and social experiment. It has nothing to do with actually making people smarter. Arguably, non-government groups, random activistic firms, and some non-profits and stuff have done more to uphold American education than the Department of Education has done in its entire inception. Have you ever heard of Book It? By the way, I've still got my Book It medallions from back in the 90s. Effectively, you'd have the kids in a class and they had to read a certain number of books and I think write up a little report. And then they'd get pizza, actually. It was an incentive to get them to learn more. Not that I had to be incentivized to read. I was reading on a college level in 4th grade, but because I enjoyed it. I was plowing through my dad's collection one summer. God, I think I read 200-300 fucking books in one summer. And it was great, by the way. He had a great collection. Fortunately, it got water damaged. But the Department of Education doesn't really do these things. They try to hyper-standardize things at the federal level. And what this inevitably does is bring down people who are higher achievers. Like they're literally going after AP courses in a number of states right now. I think California is one of them. Or is it Washington? One of those West Coast hippie-trippy states. Well, AP courses disproportionately are helping people from higher socioeconomic brackets and or who are the wrong race. In other words, they look more like me and less like George Floyd. And so we can't have that. It's inequality, it's inequity, and so that's not allowed. So we have to take the people that would otherwise be quite successful potentially, the grade A students, the forthcoming valedictorian, and deprive them of the ability to compete with similarly matched kids from other states. Doesn't make any sense. And that's just on the state level. But with the purview of the Department of Education, they're trying to lower the testing goals for everyone. In other words, you've got a population that technically, if I remember correctly, peaked in overall literacy back in the middle of the 1990s. That's rather sad. That's a society that's in decline. It's not one that's striving to be the best that it can be and try to facilitate those that are most able to make it better for all people. What they're doing is they're simply trying to compound everyone to the lowest common denominator. The Department of Education is unwieldy, expensive, and has not increased educational attainment in the United States. The United States overall peaked in educational attainment in the 50s, and its literacy peaked in the 90s. Well, what a great job the federal government has done to make the educational system more retooled, to make it work better. They haven't done a good job. They've laid waste to it. Get rid of the Department of Education, return it generally to the states, and have a sparse set of federal guidelines that don't lower the standards, but say, hey, our goal is that within some arbitrary frame of time, let's say it's 20 years or something like that, students will know X, Y, and Z. Don't base it on testing standards, though. Here's why. What's going to happen in some of those states? They'll lower the standards. And they'll say, well, we're giving discretion in the test scores. Oh, we just barely made it over the margin, thanks for the federal money. I believe they're already doing this effectively. If you don't have a certain number of kids that pass the test in your school, you get demoted. What you should be doing is trying to uplift the school. What you should be doing is going in there and finding out what's wrong. But that takes effort and doesn't make you money. It also doesn't make you burger flippers. So the federal government and many of the states don't want to do that. I like how the liberals will say, well, here's the top states for educational attainment, or IQ, or whatever it happens to be, test scores. And they're generally blue states. And they say, well, here's the lowest, and they're a bunch of red states. Now, there is another overlap that has nothing to do directly with politics that they dare not address. I will say no more. Many of you are aware of what I'm talking about, by the way. They won't address that. Here's the problem, though. If you have a perpetually underdeveloped, largely rural state that doesn't have the New England style of old rural system, we have that in Vermont, for example. Our educational attainment is always in the top 3. New Hampshire's up there, Minnesota, and a few others. If you have that situation and you don't attempt to figure out why there's a problem and then address it, well, then the problem persists. If anything, dumbing things down makes it worse. You're creating intergenerational poverty. I love it when liberals complain about that. And it's like, yeah, but at the ghetto school, instead of actually attempting to hire better teachers or institute better, more working policies, what did you do? Oh, well, it's okay. 50 is the new A on this test. Oh, all of our students did really well on the tests. Yeah, they had like a B+ average and shit. Well, yeah, but you lowered the testing standards. That's like saying, don't worry, the water quality has improved. But the reason why you've said that the water quality improved is because you changed the testing standards and said, well, 30 parts per million was the old standard of, I don't know, radioactive iodine or something like that. That's probably enough to kill you, by the way. I have no clue. But we've decided that 70 is okay. So we'll oh, your water is clean all of a sudden. It's just about rebranding things. That's all the Department of Energy has done. Department of Energy acts the same way. EPA acts the same way. It's almost like we're seeing a pattern here and that these bureaus really aren't doing their job. I mean, they are doing their job if their job is to poison people and dumb them down, but if it's meant to uplift people and improve society, I think that private action is much more effective for that. So yes, I do believe in abolishing the Department of Education simply because over the decades of its existence, it hasn't actually increased educational attainment. If anything, it's dumbed people down. That's not what we want if we want a bright future. We need to compete with countries that have leapfrogged us with regards to technology in some cases. That's about all. Peace out.